We've got to interrupt you with breaking news. Mark McAdam has been trumped up the pecking order because what's going on?
Huge breaking news. We spoke about this being the deadline day of all deadline days for Liverpool. They've had the most fabulous window. Before today, over £300 million had been spent by the football club. They got Alexander Isak in a deal worth 125. It's got even better for Liverpool fans because guess what? You've got a new centre-back. Deal agreed with Crystal Palace for the defender, Marc Guehi, the Crystal Palace captain. It's worth £35 million. He's now been given permission to undergo his medical for Liverpool, which is going to happen in London. But this, Bella, is a huge deal for Arne Slot, an incredible side that have started the season fantastically well. Suddenly, it's got even better. The targets were a striker and a centre-back. Arne Slot has got his wishes, 2 brand new players, and the Palace captain
have agreed a deal with Crystal Palace for the defender Marc Guehi. Mark McAdam has been breaking stories left, right and centre this whole transfer window. He's with me now alongside Alan and Christian. Mark, how has this gone down? We thought it was off.
Yeah, it's been one of those stories that we've been talking about for the last 3 or 4 weeks or so, and every single day there's a different position from either football club. It looks like he's staying, and then it looks like he's going to head to Liverpool. The conversations continued in the background, and of course Marc Guehi has been, you know, the absolute perfect professional over the course of this last week or so. While there's been so much speculation about his future, he's continued as captain of Crystal Palace and continued to put in top-class performances in crucial games for them. But now, finally, there is an agreement in place between Crystal Palace and Liverpool, which we understand to be £35 million.
Okay.
He's been given permission to go through the formalities of the medical, which is going to happen in London, and finalise the deal.
Just talk us through that medical. 3.5 hours long or something, is that right?
Well,
is that our understanding?
Yeah, the fact that he played 90 minutes plus last night would suggest to that Liverpool medical team.
He said after the match, I'm absolutely exhausted. They've had so many matches this month, haven't they?
Any concerns about his body? I don't think there is going to be, because he's already played so many games over the course of the last few weeks, and 90 plus minutes as well. So he'll go through the formalities of the medical. They'll get all the agreements sorted between the clubs, the lawyers. The personal terms would have already been agreed before they got to this point between his representatives and Liverpool, and really now it's just a case of signing the paperwork and bringing the formalities together. Of course, Crystal Palace would only sanction a possible deal when they had got what they believe to be top-class replacements sorted up, lined up and ready to go. The fact that the 2 clubs have now agreed the deal would suggest Crystal Palace are in a comfortable position to say, OK, we're happy to let our captain go. He had 1 year left on his contract, and that was clearly a massive factor. This time last year, Newcastle were trying to buy him for around £65 million. He's now going to Liverpool for 35.
Is now very much on and on its way to being completed. Mark, what a transfer deadline day this is. This is absolutely bonkers.
This is extraordinary. It'll probably go down as one of the greatest deadline days we've ever seen.
Honestly.
This is my 32nd at Sky Sports News now, so I've seen a
and
few over the years.
You're only 21, that's amazing.
33.
So it's quite remarkable. But what we've seen is big players moving. The money has been bigger than ever before. You know, average players now seem to be going for between 50 and 70 million. You know, blockbuster players are over £100 million.
Silly money.
And clubs are just getting the business done because there is so much at stake. We know that the new format of the Champions League can be worth around 80 million as a minimum for those sides that are in the Champions League. Huge money involved there. Commercial packages. You've seen Liverpool win the Premier League, and the bonuses and add-ons for all of their commercial deals, because they're Premier League champions, go up as well. So it enables them to spend. And when you're well run, when you're clever, when you're astute, when you generate a lot of money like Chelsea have done, like Liverpool have done with player sales, you can recycle it in the right way, and that's what some of the best clubs are doing.
These are some shots from Liverpool's training ground from earlier today. Isak was inside the vehicle, leaving the training ground. He was leaving so that he could continue his medical off-site. We will, of course, keep you up to date with any further developments. Elsewhere, Yoane Wissa has agreed a deal to join Newcastle. Keith Downey's been across this transfer saga for weeks and joins us now. Keith, when are we expecting everything to be tied up with this one?
I don't know how much of that you heard there, but yeah, I'll start again. It has been a saga, an absolute saga this summer. Of course, all surrounding the Alexander Isak situation, but of course that then is linked to the Yohan Wissa situation. There was always a feeling and I think a hope from Newcastle's point of view that they would get the deal done for Yohan Wissa. I don't think they quite thought they would have to spend as much as they're having to. Remember, the first bid for Yohan Wissa was £25 million around about 6 weeks ago. That then went up to 35 plus 5, a £40 million package, and they're now paying Brentford £50 million up front with a potential.
Let's get to the facts. Crystal Palace and Liverpool have closed a £35 million deal for Marc Guehi. The 24-year-old defender, voted the best on the pitch in Palace's win over Aston Villa on Sunday, had already been officially cleared to undergo medical examinations in London. To give you an idea of perfect timing, Guehi put in a brilliant performance as a performer over the weekend, emerged as the hero of the match, and, on Monday, he was practically 1 foot in the Liverpool squad. It looked like it would just be a matter of signing the papers and making the official announcement. Liverpool, which are putting together a squad to compete for all titles, saw Guehi as the missing piece in their defence. With just 1 year left on his contract with Palace, it seemed like the perfect time for all parties to close the deal. But that's when things got complicated. This is where the story gets really interesting, folks. Crystal Palace had a plan: sell Guehi and immediately bring in Brighton's Igor Julio as his replacement. It was like a perfectly planned domino fall. Igor Julio was practically guaranteed at Palace. But in a typical end-of-term turnaround, the Brazilian decided to go to West Ham instead of accepting the South London club's offer. And there are conflicting versions of what actually happened. Some say it was Igor who changed his mind. Others that Palace himself dropped out after the medical exams. With Igor off the radar, Palace panicked. They needed a replacement that matched Guehi, and options were becoming scarce. The club turned to Chelsea's Axel Disasi, part of coach Enzo Maresca's famous bomb squad, players who don't fit the plans and are free to leave. They also considered Milan's Strahinja Pavlovic, but the Italians were looking for reinforcements from their own knees, negotiating with Manchester City's Manuel Akanji and Liverpool's Joe Gomez. It was a real chair dance, and it was at that very moment that Crystal Palace coach Oliver Glasner entered the picture as the man who changed everything. Glasner, the technical who said no Oliver. Glasner was adamant from the start. We have to keep Guehi if we want to have a successful season. If we don't have the right replacement, it's clear to me that we have to keep him. Even with 35 mil at stake, a sum any minor club would be tempted to accept. Glasner maintained his position, and, according to sources close to the club, the Austrian coach's insistence was instrumental in the final decision to cancel the transfer. Imagine the pressure. On the one hand, the board seeing 35 million slip away. On the other, the manager saying, "Without a suitable replacement, I don't see anything." And here's the most interesting detail. It was Glasner himself who had direct conversations with Guehi to explain the situation. In the end, even with a schedule sent to the Premier League to extend negotiations beyond Monday's deadline at 7 p.m., Crystal Palace made the final decision: cancel and ask Guehi to return to South London. The consequences for everyone. Now let's look at what this decision means for each of those involved, because the consequences are huge. For Crystal Palace, they keep the captain and the best defender, but lose 35 millers right away. And here's the biggest problem. Guehi has only 1 year on contract. If he doesn't renew, he leaves for free at the end of the season. It's a huge financial risk. For Liverpool, they were left with just 3 experienced defenders: Virgil van Dijk, Konate and Joe Gomez, plus 18-year-old Giovanni Leone. They could improvise with Wataru Endo, Andy Robertson or Ryan Gravenberch in defense, but clearly it wasn't the ideal plan. For Marc Guehi, the situation is delicate. He indicated that he does not want to renew with Palace, so he is imprisoned until January. He could negotiate a pre-contract with foreign clubs in January, or Palace could try to sell him in the winter transfer window. Eddie, but probably for far less than the 35 million currently offered. Who won and who lost coldly looking? This was a situation where pretty much everyone lost something. Crystal Palace made a risky bet. They kept a player who clearly wants to leave and could leave for free. Yes, they have signed Toulouse's JD Canvote for 20.8 million, but Glasner made it clear that he wanted a replacement. Ready for the Premier League? Liverpool will have to find other options to strengthen their defence, perhaps in the January transfer window or by investing in the promotion of young talent. And Guehi? Well, he showed professionalism by accepting the decision, but he's certainly not happy with the result. This saga by Marc Guehi is a perfect example of how the transfers can be until the last second. A coach's technical decision can be worth over 35 million. The question now is, what will happen in January? Will Guehi renew or leave for free? Will Liverpool return? And Crystal Palace made the right choice? One thing is certain, this story is not over yet. Share your thoughts on Crystal Palace's decision in the comments below.